because she's a researcher. And so she really backs up her information with some really, solid facts. So this is a quote I found of hers when I was looking through quotes on courage, and it says, "Choose the great adventure of being brave,
Mhm.
courageous, and afraid, fear, at the exact same time." And we talk about that all the time in Fearless Living. Kelly and I are certified Fearless Living coaches, and that's one of the tenets that we talk about a lot. And I thought that might be a good thing for us to start in. But before we started recording, I was talking a little bit about why I'm even doing this. That'll give you time to think about that quote. Um, I've been wanting to do a podcast, and so Becky is always supporting me and encouraging me. And she said, why not just do something right here in the arena of OPWP? And I thought, well, that's great. It's already set up, and we can, market it from here and open it up to people outside of the community to perhaps encourage some interest in the community. So courage is the topic that I've been using for the last several years, that I've been managing a couple of hours in this OPWP platform. So, and I wanted it just to be a conversation, because I'll listen to podcasts that seem to be more scripted, or ones that are just open conversations. And so I wanted it to be an open conversation with the community that's already established, and perhaps bringing in new people as well. So it's going to be out in the the tech, the air of whatever that is out there, how information gets from here to there. I guess we're going to put it on YouTube, and it'll be a place where people can come to the conversation. So I thought I would start the conversation each week with a quote. And so I chose this quote by Brene Brown, because when I first got into Fearless Living and I began my journey of being coached and then becoming a coach, I kind of had this. I'm very visual, and so I create images in my mind, and I made this, or created, or it came to me, whatever, this image of me walking down a pathway with tall cypress trees on either side, and I'm holding the hand of fear. And fear just looks like a little image, doesn't have a face, kind of has a shape of a body, but I'm holding its hand, so it has a hand, and I'm walking down this path, and I'm walking. I'm not stuck. I'm not stopped. I'm walking hand in hand with fear towards my goals and dreams. And so I thought, well, that's kind of what this quote says. It's an adventure. Life is an adventure. I believe it's an adventure. Living in the present moment, it's an adventure moment by the choices that we make. And so if it's an adventure, I can have courage and I can go along with fear at the same time, exact same time. And so I thought that quote really kind of spoke to me. So I thought it might speak to you as well, as we start this conversation around courage, because courage is stepping out of your comfort zone, and it takes risks, and risks are fearful. So I thought I'd just open up the conversation with that idea and see where we might take it as far as supporting one another in our adventure, our dreams, our goals, our path. Uh, we call it in Fearless Living, we call it our pathway of freedom. Living along with fear, because fear is our friend. It's helping us know that we're stepping out of our comfort zone, and it just wants to protect us. And so why not hold its hand and walk along with it as it helps us on our journey? So that's my idea for starting today's conversation, the inaugural hour of courageous conversations. So I'll just kind of open it up to you, and we'll go from there and see where it takes us in our personal journeys. We're supporting each other. That's what OP is all about.
Well, I love the quote that you picked right out the gate. I love that it starts with choose. Of course, the power of knowing that we get to decide how we look at the things that we're doing and looking at life as an adventure. That's exciting. I love that. I put that in the chat. Life is an adventure. But
Yeah.
just, the quote of starting it with the word choose, that's powerful because it always reminds me of the power of choice that we do have. I can look at anything as a challenge or an adventure or, a downer, depending on what it is. I have the choice to decide how I want to frame it up and play with it and move forward or let it go. But the choice of making something seem exciting and eventful really is always the frame that I take with stepping out of my comfort zone, especially when it's something like big, like that feels big to me, I'll just say. Like public speaking was my own fear that I've moved through over the years, and just really leaned into how can I be more brave, even though I feel nervous, I'm excited at the same time, and just really claiming that I was actually telling the story of fear and making that shift to understand like this is exciting. It's something that's new and eventful, and the chemical reactions the same in our body, which I love that you brought Brene Brown too, because she's very research and science based and all those things. And that was one of the things that really grounded me in the beginning of my own, you know, path to freedom, was just that understanding that it's doing the same thing in my body, but then my mind is the one, framing it up for me to tell the story around what does this mean to me when I have this excitement in my body or this fear happening and this newness, that I get to label it and choose that it's an adventure, or how that looks. So yeah, this is a powerful quote. I love this.
Yeah. Well, and I just finished recording Terry Talks yesterday, and the theme for Terry Talks this month is present moment. And it kept coming back to me, the idea of choice. We can either choose to regret the past and worry about the future, or we can live, which is the adventure part, right? We can live in the present moment. And it just kept coming to me that I have that choice in each moment, how I think, how I feel, how I speak, and how I act. And that can be, like you said, it can be a challenge, which I think I love challenges. It can be an opportunity, it can be positive. I have the choice in every moment to look at courage, being brave, taking risks, or not. And fear plays a big part in that. And I don't know, how I love things that go together, the synchronicity of how it all works together. And just your conversation, what you added to this conversation right now just really resonated with me in where I am right now in this moment, in my thinking process, and how important that is to understand. We choose, we choose to be depresso or to be positive. We choose to see life as an adventure, or we see life as not a challenge, but what's a word that would be negative? We see it as
Problem,
yeah, yeah,
problems.
yeah, problem. Yeah, there you go. See, I know I only think of life as a challenge now, and then challenges are good to me. So, yeah, I appreciate that. That really resonates with me, how you took that quote and took the word choice or choose. Because that's what life's all about. And choosing to be in the present moment gives us the courage to take the step, right? Because we have to step in the moment. We can step back, or we can step forward, or we can stagnate. And so, yeah, that's great. I appreciate that so much. Yeah. So what else? What else is resonating with you, coming up for you around choosing to take this adventure with fear alongside us?
I think that we can choose whether, like, because they both have to exist together. So when we can't have fear without having courage, just like we can't have rain without having sun. We have to have them both to appreciate each other. And so that actually is freeing to choose and have the challenge. I feel like it's freeing in the choice that we know it's going to be a short time that we're going to feel the way that we feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's hard to teach, especially kids. That's hard to teach because their brain isn't fully developed. Although I think all of us on this call right now, we've all lived, or on the podcast, we've all lived long enough to know that things pass. And I think that helps with fear because it's a short time when we really look into fear, although it can be overwhelming if we think too much about it.
Yeah, yeah. That really brings up that concept of fear is already, when we're fearing, it's normally we fear from the past, right? We're fearing is because our fear is telling us that didn't work the last time. That's going to hurt your feelings. That's going to make you feel sick. Our fear is telling us that so that we don't step out of that zone of comfort. And yet also if we're looking too much to the future, we can be afraid of what might happen, the whole if that I'd done that in the past and what if that happens in the future. So it's really about accepting the fear, like you said, and then not projecting that into the future, but into the choice we make right now. Yeah, that's what.
It's so true. And anxiety is kind of what I've struggled with or had to really work on. And that is really looking at things in the future. And then if you think about getting stuck, it's really a little bit being more depressed, right? We're stuck, we're depressed, we're not moving forward. And then anxiety is more, well, what if this does happen? And it is based a little bit on the past, isn't it? Because if it
Well, we
happens,
learn from the past. Our foundation is our past, right?
right?
Yeah. It's just it's who we are is because of the past experiences that we've had. So we can honor our past, take the lessons from our past, but not go to regret and blame and about what happened in the past and dwelling on the story, like you said, dwelling on the story of the past. Yeah, that then stops us from taking the risk. Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think
think
that's
about it being an integration of, right, recognizing that the feelings coming up and then remembering that we get to choose, the label that we give it, the name that we give it, and the opportunity is that choice. And so yeah, Carrie, I love that you were bringing like that's a dynamic. We need both, right, to be able to like you said, appreciate the fact that fear is there to protect us, right? But how many times are we actually in real danger, right? That's the kind of fear that I feel like I used to think about before I really dove into what I really thought about fear and taking risks and being outside of the comfort zone, and how my whole life people would tell me, Becky, you're so brave, you're so confident, like how do I get more of that in my life? And I didn't understand what I was doing maybe differently than other people. And until I dug into understanding the mindset piece of that and how powerful it is to just know that I was choosing a different perspective around something that was pushing me to grow and go outside of what my normal was to make a new choice. And that can be, fearful if we don't know that we're actually creating the story around something that, maybe even hasn't happened yet, looking to the future idea that you're talking about, in the past, in the worry and taking those lessons. It's important to know that we get to have that power.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's like you're saying, we think of fear as being physical fear, but we're talking more about emotional fear, and our body doesn't know the difference. Our brain doesn't know the difference. So we're going to have the same kind of reaction, which is, whoa, I'm not going there, whether it's emotional fear or it's physical fear. Our body reacts the same. And so it's yeah. I mean, I think we've all learned not to put our hand on the hot stove or step out in the street, or those kinds of fear, stand on the edge of a building or something. We at my age, I'm not going to do any of those things. I've learned that for sure. But it's still a struggle to have courage and move forward at the same time as fear is impacting me emotionally, at the exact same time. It's that courage that pushes you through, because they do happen simultaneously. Yeah. Anytime we're stepping out of our comfort zone, fear is gonna be there because it's trying to protect us emotionally or physically or whatever. it doesn't know the difference. So it's going to try to help us to keep us from doing it. And that's where the courage comes in, to break through that fear at the exact same time. Yeah, as you're choosing to do so. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Kelly, what do you have some little gem of wisdom to share with us? Because I know you always do.
No pressure. I love the conversation. I love that Becky brought out choose, because everything is a choice, and we don't always see it that way. We can get stuck in life happening to us instead of us, choosing what is going on. Even when a situation is out of our control, we're still choosing to be in it, or how to react to it, or whatever it might be. There's still choice involved. And seeing life as an adventure is definitely much more fun than seeing it as hard, or whatever adjective you want to use. And I think that you know when we can do that, I know, like, when I've come up against situations that seem overwhelming or daunting or whatever it might be, I I try to have that mindset of, well, let's make it an adventure. Let's squeeze all the juice out of this. Let's see what we can learn. Where's the lesson in this, or how can I prove myself in this moment? You know, how can I trust myself more in this situation? What would be possible, or what would happen if I did? And usually when I come out of that situation, I have I have that proof that I can trust myself, that I can put myself in or that when I am in these situations, I can think of ways through it, or um, or whatever it might be, and come out with those lessons, come out with that juice, or whatever that is going to keep me going. But I don't really feel like we ever are not moving. I feel like we're either going forward, we're going sideways, we're going backwards, we're going somewhere. There's never just a stop, um, because life doesn't stop. It's always moving. The time doesn't stop, and so we don't really stop either. And so maybe we're going around in circles, or on a merry-go-round, or um something like that, but we're not ever not moving. And so we get to choose which direction we get to go. Maybe we go sideways, and that doesn't necessarily mean we're going backwards. We're just shifting our perception, or we're gathering evidence, or we're doing something. But I don't think necessarily any direction is a bad thing. Sometimes we need to go backwards to be able to readjust, and refocus, and gather up maybe that support group that we need, or the courage that we need to then go forward again. And I think that's the adventure part. It takes courage to go backwards too sometimes. It's not always a bad thing, or whatever you would want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It's one of the things I think I said yesterday when I was doing all my cherry talks, was that doing something different is what takes, takes courage and takes reflection and takes, planning and ways to see things differently. And that maybe that's what I was thinking when you were talking, Kelly, is, standing still, because I'm picturing myself going down this pathway, right? Standing still is not, it could not be something that's detrimental. It could be a time of calmness, a time of slowing down, a time of listening, a time of reflecting. So you've made me kind of readjust my vision here a little bit. Maybe going sideways would be strengthening the position I'm in at that point on the journey. Maybe that would be looking at it a different way, maybe looking at it this way, but I'm still in the same, juncture in the road, but I'm looking at it different ways. And then stepping back sometimes gives us an opportunity to look, look to that moment, or even to look to the future, because it's not that we don't plan for the future. It's just that we know we're not living there yet. So I like that, that picture, that kind of adjusted my picture, my visual that I use, to think about movement on the path. So
Yeah, I kind of picture it as like a, I can't think of the word I want, like a conveyor belt. Or, that, we can be standing still on it, like a moving sidewalk at an airport or something. Like we can just stand there and it continues to move forward. And if we choose to walk, we move even faster, right? So you have, you stand to the right if you're going to stand, so that the people who want to walk go to the left. And sometimes we even sit down, right? Like, but it's gonna keep moving. We get to
Oh.
decide.
yeah, that's every moment is a movement, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you look
so
at
true.
time. Yeah, what are you gonna say, Carrie?
Well, it actually reminds me even further than like that was a great analogy that Kelly used. I also think about the earth just turning and turning and turning, and how, there's a Bible verse in Ecclesiastics that was just shared with me yesterday. And there's that song, Turn, Turn, Turn by the Birds.
Yep.
Every season, there's a time to heal, there's a time to pray, there's a time. And it's so true, because that's such a good perspective on thinking, oh yeah, we do sometimes turn back and then we go forward, or we go to the side, or we go, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a really cool perspective.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
I loved Kelly saying squeeze everything out of it. It made me think of, right, the conversation around lemons. Life gives you lemons, you create lemonade. And that's a choice too, to be able to also take everything we can from an experience and look to it as a learning opportunity to integrate and implement and apply that to where we're at now. And like you were saying, Terry, to do something different, even if it's going back to something, it will be different, because now we have a new understanding and a new, perspective from the last time this thing, was presented, or we were there. And, in the past, there's a lesson that we took, even if we didn't learn the full lesson, right? And it gets repeated, it's still change. We're actually different than we were even yesterday, because of, like, Carrie giving, that verse yesterday and reminder of that song. Like, coming today, she's different than she was yesterday, from that awareness and the lessons that she took yesterday. And that really goes hand in hand. And then the other thing that Kelly said, used the word to react to something in the break when you started talking, and I made a note to myself, to think about how much I've grown in this understanding that, being brave and afraid at the same time, and how I've really shifted from reacting to responding. And just that the understanding for myself of that I do have that choice to make, and that I get to do that, that I do respond more than I react to things that I would have reacted to from before, right? Like that work that I've been doing around understanding that has been really great to recognize. So yeah, respond versus react.
Yeah. Yeah. Great conversation. Good ideas. Really thought provoking. At least my thoughts have been provoked. So yeah, I love what we've come up with so far of being brave or courageous and afraid at the exact same time, and doing that moment by moment on how we respond or react. I've shared a lot of times here on in my action hours of how I used to react with anger. It was my first reaction, no matter what. And through being coached in strategies and concepts to learn how to respond in the moment, and not, because usually my anger would come from a lot of times from something that happened in the past, right? Because fear would tell me, there you go again, it's coming up again, da, 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 da. And then I just react with anger. And what's so wonderful about that is learning how to respond and be aware, which I think that's what understanding it helps us to once we're aware of what we're doing and how we're feeling and what we're saying. um I get agitated. When I get agitated, I ask myself what I'm expecting, because I'm only agitated because something's happening that I expected to happen and it didn't happen, and really try to practice responding rather than reacting. And as far as my volatile temper that I used to have, it's gone. I still get agitated, and sometimes I say things that why didn't you think before you said that? But I'm aware, and I'm able to take that and perhaps respond better the next time, at least practice responding better the next time. And that's not letting fear have its way with me. You know, I know it's there, and I can have it, but I can have courage at the same time and respond in a way that is in alignment with my heart and my soul. And that's compassion. So it makes a huge difference once you can have that remembering, being aware of, and then responding in the way that's in alignment with you, with your true self.
Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Terry,
think,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Beck.
I was just going to say that I think that, something in what you just shared, Terry, is that the power of taking a breath to choose, how we do want to respond, and the power of just adding that for myself. I know that has been a huge piece of myself and my journey of moving from reacting almost all the time to being able to form some, kinder responses, has been the power of taking a breath and allowing the space to,
Mhm.
to be
that.
able to formulate some consciousness versus, like you said, letting fear just have its way and just like run the show. And that breath, the power of that was just coming to me when
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Before Kelly shares what she was going to think, yesterday I was shared that the way we can get in the present moment, if we're in the past with regret and blame, or we're worrying about the future, is to take a breath, to really focus on your breath. So focus on your breath, and then focus on your five senses. That also brings you into the present moment. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you feel? Because then you're focusing on what's in your present environment. And then focus on your energy. Where's your energy? Is it supporting you? Is it proactive? Or is it, so focus on your energy. And so when you brought up breathing, it's, I never understood how powerful that was until somebody taught me how to do it. I'd never been taught or heard or had a conversation around the power of breath. I mean, it just absolutely changes your whole visceral space. And so I'm so glad you brought that up. So Kelly, what were you going to say, honey?
I was going to say, with practice comes experience. So when we step out of our comfort zone the first time, it's going to be more scarier than, the next time, and then the next time, so as we continue to practice to do something, the intensity, lessens. How frequent it happens lessens. How long we stay in it lessens. And so, keeping that in mind, that as we continue to step out, as we continue to take those risks, it's going to be less scary. And, this is Terry's third podcast. So I'm sure when she came to it, there was still courage necessary for her to come in here and, do her thing. But I'm sure it was less than the first time she decided to step up and do a podcast. So we take those lessons that we've learned, and those can also take us into the next adventure. The first time I planned a trip for my whole family to go somewhere overnight, or multiple days, like, it was scary. But since I was able, I did it once, right? Then the next time I had more belief in myself to be able to do it again. So, and now it's not necessarily scary. It's like, okay, how can I be creative in making this more memorable, or, with a different budget in mind, or, whatever it might be. There's different challenges. So it's, we take that, not only do we take that, part of our foundation that we take into the future or take into the present moment are those beliefs that we can, or that it's possible, or that even that we got close last time, so we can get even closer this time, or maybe I took a breath for 2 seconds, and this time I'm gonna challenge myself to take a breath for 5 seconds. You know what? Like, it doesn't have to be this huge difference from time to time. We just push ourselves a little bit more. We just use a little bit more courage. We have that a little bit more belief in ourselves, that our courage will, last longer, or, get us through, or whatever.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the frequency, length, and intensity, because that is one way for us to gauge that the practice is working, right? That we have, just like for me and anger, I now can really, even the agitation, how long does it last? How often does it occur? Unfortunately, it occurs most with Kelly, so she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Because we work so close together, I get agitated with her probably more than anybody, and she just, I don't know, she's really good about bringing me back to reality that I'm, that's,
Well, I would say it happens more with technology, and I'm
there you
usually
go.
the
Thank
person
you.
you're going to for support with technology.
Yeah,
So
because I
I
was
feel the brunt of
really agitated with her yesterday. So she knows,
it.
because I was trying to figure out this silly AI thing, and
Mhm.
we were trying to communicate, and I just really, the frequency, length, the intensity of my fear around technology is very, very slowly disappearing, very, very slowly, but it is getting better, I think. Uh, Actually, this morning, while Kelly was still asleep, I was getting on trying to get into my GPT and ask it a question about courage. Didn't get there, but anyway, I tried. I practiced. Yeah.
Yeah. And with practice, it does go back to that trust, trusting ourselves, and it does really rewire our brain. Every time we can get into the body, it rewires our brain to our parasympathetic nervous system, which then allows us to rest and digest and become more aware and present. So when we're talking about, you had mentioned, Terry, the five senses, that actually does get us really present. And to be
Yeah.
aware that you get angry is the biggest step because you're aware. And that's the
Yeah.
only way we can be present, is to really be aware of our body and our breath and our heart. And that is being present. And we
Yeah.
are going to get angry because we're human.
Yeah.
That's normal. And we're going to get sad. We're going to be sad, and we're going to be all the things.
They're just feelings, right? And we
Yeah,
just,
they are.
those feelings can go through us as quick as 90 seconds. We can
Exactly.
have those feelings go from our head out our toes, and then invest in our, invest in our intention, and move forward. Yeah, all of that. See, here we have all this synergy. I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that information. I'm guessing, or I'm assuming that you have, tell me what you do, because you're actually talking about a lot about neurology and how our mind works. And so there must be some good understanding there that you can share with us. I
Yeah.
love what you
Well,
shared so far.
I teach trauma-informed yoga, actually.
Mhm.
So I've been doing that for a while, and it's changed my life. And I can feel it in my body when I start getting into my head more than my heart and my soul. So it's very much a real feeling for me, and
Mhm.
something that I have to practice all the time.
Mhm.
Get to.
What's that?
Mhm. I said get to.
You get to practice all the
I
time. she
get to,
said.
thank you. I get to practice all the time. And because I get to practice all the time, I get to teach it, and I understand the feeling and the awareness that comes along with it. Mhm. And
That's
I'm working on
amazing.
that, Kelly. So I appreciate you saying get to, because I'm working on my words right now and how I'm
Yeah.
explaining things. So I appreciate
Well, it
that.
definitely is a choice that you're
It
doing it,
is.
because you don't really have to. I don't do it. So it's not necessarily a have to, but you're
Yeah.
choosing to do it. You're choosing to learn more. You're choosing to teach others. You're choosing to step into that space over and over again. And that's
I-
courageous.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good acknowledgement. That's one of the things that we teach our clients, is to acknowledge those steps into taking risks and getting to learn and seeing life as an opportunity and a great adventure, to acknowledge ourselves for that. So people frequently are, oh yeah, I'm grateful for that. I can show gratitude, but acknowledging yourself is a really courageous step. That also is it's like I can't think today, but it's little steps that you can see your growth, right? How you're going on the path and you're growing and you're doing that, that taking those courageous acts and being afraid at the same time. And so that's a really good example of that. So thank you for sharing that. I'd love to, in some hours, set a breakout out room with you and hear more about what you do.
Sure. Thank you
Yeah,
both for sharing and being courageous to be on here, because we wouldn't have connected otherwise. So it
yeah,
is really great work, everybody
yeah.
here.
I love studying the brain. I was an educator for 40 years. Well, I still am. I mean, once an educator, you're always an educator. I was born to be one. So
True, true.
I've studied the brain, just enough to know enough about how the physiology of the brain works. But it fascinates me. I have a pin I love to wear that's it's a beautiful enameled pin of a dendrite, and all the connectors to the neuron. And I love that, because it reminds me that you're never too old to create dendrites. And the idea that the brain starts dying as you age is not true. It's that you neglect using it is what happens, right? Yeah, so we'll have to connect.
For sure, for sure. Love that.
Yeah, well, this has been amazing. We're up to 10 minutes of the hour, and so we can kind of we'll summarize what we've learned and whether or not we were able to um, complete our intention, which I just loved this. It was amazing. I learned so much, took notes, and feel encouraged to keep doing it because it was a great conversation. So as far as how it went for me, it went really, really well. And I appreciate all three of you being here and participating and making that choice to be in the present moment for us to be together, challenging and encouraging one another. So I'll go to you, Beck. How was this for you?
Yeah, thank you, Terry, for coming to me to say like, hey, what do you think about this courageous conversations and bringing the heart of courage to the table so that we can have discussion around and framing this up and sharing our experiences and putting this out there for others to join the conversation. So you're listening to this on the replay and you're like, oh, that would be so fun to contribute to the conversation. There's information in the show notes for you to come and join this conversation with Terry. And we would love to invite you into the live topic for the next one. So this was great, Terry. I love the refresher, the reminder, and just like the dynamic of having a collective conversation and sharing of stories to just bring it together. It always just solidifies in me where I'm at in the present moment to remember that I am bringing courage with me every step of the way. So thank you.
Yeah, I love that. Carrie, how about you?
Yeah, I loved listening to all of you and all the different perspectives and then coming together and meeting all this knowledge and meeting all of you over Zoom and connecting with like-minded individuals. And it was really courageous conversation and great reminder.
Well, I'm certainly happy to have met you, and I always feel like the right people show up at the right time, and this was a great conversation, and you certainly were a great benefit to me, to all of us, I'm sure, with your thoughts and your participation. So thank you. I'm really grateful. Miss
Thanks.
Kelly Fox.
Yeah.
I know Kelly, Carrie, I don't know that Kelly's been recuperating from surgery here at my house.
Oh, no. Oh,
Yeah,
that's,
so
are you
she's
sitting
been
by
here.
each other right now?
Yeah, she's had
No, we're in different
a
rooms.
big dose of
Oh.
her mother, a big dose of her mother. So she has been
I
here
love
for 3
that.
weeks and almost 3 weeks.
Well,
And
you'll help her heal as much as it's probably an adventure at times.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
it has been, and it's been a joy for me to be able to serve her, get her water and her medication and put her on her ointments and all the things that she needed. But I know she's really wanting to get home. I've taken her up there a couple times. She has 6 children, and so that's the main reason why thought it'd be easier for her to be here
No kidding.
as she
Less stress.
recuperates. But she's missing them and they're missing her. So we're hoping this week when she goes to the doctor on Thursday, she'll actually see the doctor. She's been seeing her nurse practitioner. They'll say she can go home. And
I
I
hope
know she'll be able to move enough to, navigate her house rather than mine, because mine's a little bit less full of things than hers is. So
I can
Kelly,
Things
imagine
and people.
children, it's pretty
yeah.
full.
Yeah.
People and the stuff of 6 people.
Exactly.
8 people.
Yeah, 8 counting.
Including the
Yeah,
mom.
mom and dad, they're not free from their stuff, that's for sure.
No.
So Kelly,
No.
how was this kind of like stepping back into the conversations after being away for a while?
Yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice to be able to talk more about, courage and fear and share, my experience with it and the things that I have gained and the things that I have learned, and to participate in a conversation other than, my bodily functions. So um it's been very nice to contribute to the conversation in a positive way and gain from all of you. I feel like that's the best part of being in a group, is that we learn from each other, and that collective energy stays with us. And moves us forward. I think that's why support group, having a support system is really important, because, you know, it gives you that energy that you may not have on your own to keep moving in the direction that you are.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. That's what I love about this particular connection that we have in OPWP, because it does give us an opportunity to support each other. And I always feel supported, and it builds my belief and trust in myself, just because of the depth of conversations that we have here and the opportunities we have to really grow. I belong to a lot of networking groups, and this is the one that I feel I get the most out of in terms of personal growth, understanding, and opportunities to challenge
Friendship.
myself. Yeah, friendship for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So Carrie, are you a polka dot? I just asked you if you're a polka dot or not.
No, I'm not.
Oh, because when you go, what? I know.
Well, I know what it is. And
Oh,
I
you
want to-
do? Okay.
yes.
Yeah, because that's the way I get to connect with Becky, is that she's a polka dot. So when we have a celebration, I get to
Yeah.
see her, and all my friends in Minnesota and Wisconsin or wherever you all are. Which is great, because I remember the first time I met Becky in person, we were in Minnesota, right? That's when we were there. I think. I mean, I can see the picture of
Or
exactly
Denver.
what it was. No, it wasn't Denver. It was that hotel where they make you pay for it up front, because you always get so upset when we do it. That's Minnesota, right? Kel?
Minneapolis is
Minneapolis. Yeah.
Minnesota.
Isn't that in Minnesota?
Yes.
Yeah, but I remember I was coming around here and you're sitting over here at a little table, and that's the first time I got to meet you face to face. And that just added to the connection. So that's
Yes.
the way I get to see that back east people is because several of the groups I belong to, that commonality is polka dots. So we get to meet, but it's been a pleasure, ladies. It's been uplifting, and I wrote down some really important thoughts that I'll be able to contemplate and look at courage. So this,
Terry,
I gotta
do you
go.
have a-
Love you.
Terry, do you have a theme for the next conversation that we want to work for?
Well,
Or
it
we
will
can come
always
up?
be courage will always be the conversation, but next time I want to talk about courage and compassion.
Mm,
So we'll look at what part does compassion play in courage. So that's that. I've got my little
love it.
agenda here for the time that we meet, and we're doing this once a month, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're gonna do it the first Monday of the month, and then we may do first and third. We'll look at that. We'll see how many people want to have more conversations around courage.